Alright, so in the last video we we went over the dimension tables, the fact table, and we created a project. Now, um, let's actually get some building out of the way here. So we're going to go back to our project, and first thing we need to do is define a data source. So if we, in our Solutions Explorer here, remember this is the project that we made, we're going to right click and New Data Source. And a Data Source Wizard is going to come up, hit Next. Um, we actually have to, I'm going to delete these and we're just going to create a new one here. So we're going to do new, and we're going to type in our server name. Windows authentication is fine. And NFL warehouse is where we want to go. We can hit test connection. We're good to go. Hit OK. Hit next. We want to use the service account so that way we don't have to log in every time. This is okay for us, depending on the client or where we are, this may or may not be okay, but it's certainly fine for what we're doing. Hit next. Data source name, I'm just going to keep it what it named it there. Hit finish. So now we have a data source defined. Now we have to define a view. So essentially what we're going to do is, all right, there's all sorts of tables in this data source, but we may not need all of them to create our cube. There might be, and there definitely are, there's some extra tables in there that I used for data loading and whatever that we don't need. They're not dimension tables. So we're going to tell the project what tables we want to use. So we're going to do new data source view. Again, another wizard pops up. Makes it pretty simple. This is our data source that we just made. Just leave that highlighted. Click next. Now here's a list of all the tables. You see we have kickers in here and player. I don't even know if this one is players something or other. Some players last first. I think it was organization of the name. I try to be very anal retentive and name all my actual dimension tables with dim in front. That way I know right where they are, and of course have the word fact in the fact table. So we just want all the dimension tables. Now here's a pretty cool trick though. Since we in our warehouse we already have foreign key and primary key joins between the fact table and the dimension tables, we can actually pull in the fact table first and then hit added related tables, and it's smart enough to know which tables that are, are joined, and see they're all the dimension tables. The only thing we're missing here is it can't do that with views, so we're going to pull in that time view that I talked about in lesson 1 and pull that in, or in the overview here. And that should be it. We're going to hit next. What do we want to call it? Again, I'm just going to leave it the same and hit finish, and it's going to build our data source view. And now as you see, we kind of have the same star schema that we had in the back in the actual here in this SQL Server Management Studio. So it should look very similar. Um, as you see, the one thing we're missing here is that time dimension, which is, of course, like I said, a view. So we're going to drag that in. Maybe we're not. Oh, it's already up there. That's why. Sorry about that. It's hiding up here, but it's not connected. So we have to tell it what we're going to use as our primary and foreign key. We're going to use week ID, and we're going to drag that over and connect it to NFL week ID here. And it's going to ask you, doesn't have a primary key because it's a view. Can't have a primary key in a view. Would you like to define a logical primary key? And we say yes, and now we're all set. And there we go. We've created a data source and a data source view. Let's hit save. So save this project, and we'll stop here and continue in the next video for the next lesson.